The San Francisco 49ers have one of the most feared linebackers and just men in general in the NFL, and his name is Fred Warner. And this guy is an absolute menace on the field, but in this video, I'm going to go over what makes Fred Warner such a feared player in the NFL, and also go over a little bit about his background and what made him into the player he is today, and explain maybe some ways he trains in the offseason to prepare for an NFL season. And finally, I'm going to conclude to say how he's going to perform next year, or how I predict he'll perform next year. Fred Warner's story actually begins close to the San Francisco 49ers facility. He was born November 19th in 1996 in San Marcos, California, which is just a little bit north of San Diego. Fred Warner was really raised by his mother, Laura Warner, because his parents separated when he was just a toddler. But Warner always loved playing sports, and he began playing a bunch of different sports, but what really stuck out to him was playing football when he was 7. And Warner even highlighted the impact football had on his life, citing that this actually gave him a sense of community and purpose in his early childhood and teenage years. Growing up in California, you'd expect Fred Warner to maybe be a Chargers fan, but he was actually a Dallas Cowboys fan because, well, his dad was a Cowboys fan. Fred Warner played his high school ball at Mission Hills High School, where he was a linebacker on his football team. He started his junior year, and eventually he became named the All-San Diego Section Defensive Player of the Year. He was also named to the All-California First Team by USA Today and the Cal High Sports All-State First Team, and earned the title of Avocado East League Defensive Player of the Year. Fred Warner chose to go to college at BYU, with the main reason being his Mormon faith. And as a true freshman at BYU, Warner registered a total of 24 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 interception, which he did return for a touchdown, signifying his great coverage abilities he'd see in the pros. But Fred Warner was only just beginning. As a sophomore, he earned the starting role, and that season he earned 67 tackles, 11.5 of those for a loss, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 4 fumble recoveries, just to highlight his playmaking abilities. As a junior, Warner even did better, improving to 86 tackles, 10.5 of those for loss, 1.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and he returned 1 of those for a touchdown too, got 2 forced fumbles, and 6 pass breakups. But Fred Warner kind of tapered off his senior year, not making a huge jump from his junior year, but he still led the team in tackles with 87, 9 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery, and 5 more pass breakups. In 4 years, Warner was a 3-year starter and registered a total of 264 tackles, 32 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 7 interceptions, 2 of those he returned for touchdowns, 5 fumble recoveries, 3 forced fumbles, 13 pass breakups. His 7 career interceptions ranked second in school history among linebackers. And with stats like this, especially combined with his overall combine performance, which was subsequent, which I'll go through right now, he was actually amazing at the combine. He finished 13th among linebackers in the 40-yard dash, 8th in the bench press, 9th in the short shuttle, and 6th in the 3-cone drill. And Warner attended pre-draft visits for the following teams, including the San Francisco 49ers, Denver Broncos, Buffalo Bills, and he was really thought to be the 4th best outside linebacker in the draft. But it's interesting because you'll think right now he's actually an inside linebacker, and we'll talk about that transition in just a little bit. Fred Warner actually slid from this projected of 4th linebacker overall, as he was selected 9th linebacker overall, going in the 70th pick overall to the San Francisco 49ers in the 2018 NFL Draft. And this is where we need to talk about what happened. Fred Warner actually became the starting middle linebacker, which is crazy because he was outside linebacker. And we need to talk about DeMeco Ryans and Robert Saleh's role in this, because DeMeco Ryans was his linebacker coach, and I think that really helped him move into the linebacker spot. We also need to talk about additions in free agency later that played a huge role in Fred Warner's development into the player he is today. But to start his years, in 2018, he was competing with Brock Coyle for the starting middle linebacker, and Kyle Shanahan named him the starter to begin the season alongside Malcolm Smith. And he did great that year, recording 124 tackles, with 85 of those being solo, 6 pass deflection, 1 forced fumble, and that finished 12th among all players and 3rd among all rookies in 2018. And the 2019 season is where I think Fred Warner actually became the linebacker we know today. And a lot of that has to do with Kwon Alexander coming over to the San Francisco 49ers and really showing how to play inside linebacker in this league. I mean, he came up with the famous Hot Boys, and Fred Warner and the San Francisco 49ers killed it that whole season, going all the way to the Super Bowl. This is where Fred Warner started to develop himself as the leader. And I think he really saw how Kwon Alexander brought that sauce or like that heat to the 49ers and really turned it up a level on the field and really was that vocal, boisterous linebacker, that hard-hitting linebacker that the 49ers wanted. And Fred Warner realized he could be that guy if he just worked hard enough and hit people hard enough too. During the season, Fred Warner had combined 118 tackles, with 89 of those being solo. He also had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, also an interception and a touchdown in that season. Fred Warner really is starting to establish himself as a dynamic playmaker in the league at this point. And his peers actually saw this too, as he was ranked number 70 in the top 100 players in 2020. And we saw in 2020, Fred Warner continued to play at a high level and actually continued to get better like he did in college. And this season, Fred Warner accumulated his first Pro Bowl selection and first ever honors as All-P's first team All-Pro, which is just crazy because this is a guy that was selected in the 3rd round, and San Francisco 49ers continued to hit on these late round guys, mainly because they know how to pick characters that are willing to work and develop into athletes they need to. But we need to jump over to the 2021 season, where Fred Warner signed a record-breaking 5-year contract extension with the San Francisco 49ers worth a whopping $95 million alongside $40.5 million guaranteed. And if you remember at the start of last season, Fred Warner felt like he wasn't paying up to this contract. He didn't feel like he was doing everything he could, but that didn't stop his stats from looking relatively good, because in 2021, he had a combined 137 tackles, and then he also had 79 solos, as well as 7 tackles for loss, but he didn't have any interceptions that year. His sacks were also down to only half a sack. But in 2022, he made up for all of this because he had 130 tackles, 79 of those were solo tackles, and he had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 10 passes deflected, 1 interception, and returned it for 20 yards. So he's really a player that continues to improve, and even when he does face adversity, like he did a little bit last season, he's able to do the introspection needed to realize what type of player he needs to become and what he needs to work on in his game. And a quick note that the San Francisco 49ers have had him play basically all of the games since he's been here, and that shows his durability as a linebacker, because these guys are kind of like running backs in that they get hit constantly. But Fred Warner has shown such durability, which has been great for the San Francisco 49ers. I think a lot of that durability has to come down to his offseason program, which we'll jump into right now. And along with doing traditional NFL offseason training, such as NFL type drills that you'll see a lot of other athletes doing, and the strength training program, Fred Warner has committed himself to fighting. And he does these incredible acrobatic kicks that you can see online. And I really think that this flexibility and working on this different skill set and using his hands really helps him fight off blockers and really get to the ball on some of those pass breakups. And it really is just using the momentum of the other person against them, as well as working on agility. Furthermore, Fred Warner takes his offseason working out very seriously. He doesn't take it as just like, okay, it's time to chill. He takes it as recovering his body, his mind, and then gets after it to make sure he's ready the next season. You never see Fred Warner not physically ready to perform. He's always physically and tries to be as mentally ready as he can to perform. And he's really the heartbeat of this defense. And this is where I want to talk about how Fred Warner is the most feared linebacker in the league and how it can continue to be and really help Steve Wilks come in here and coach the San Francisco 49ers. First of all, Fred Warner is incredible in coverage. He's able to really cover any tight end or running back you send his way. He can get beat by slot receivers sometimes, but which linebacker can't? And furthermore, he can hit people hard in the running game and really sets a tone on an already violent defense. Coupled with Dre Greenlaw next to him, these two are menaces that really make other teams hate going against them. And that's really why Fred Warner got that record-breaking contract. This upcoming season, I see Fred Warner actually doing great and possibly improving under Steve Wilks' defense because of the aggressive play style. This may lead to more interceptions and sacks for Fred Warner. If you want to learn more about Steve Wilks' defense, check out this video right here. I appreciate all the support from you guys and girls out there. It means a ton to me. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching.